Hi, what's up? This is TJ. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the third wavetable synthesis from Groove Synthesis. This thing is an absolute beast of a synthesizer. It is beautiful to look at. It's very well made. I'm very excited to show it to you. We're going to look at as many different of the functions and features as possible today. It's going to be a long video, so you want to grab, some coffee, tea, wine, beer, whatever your pleasure. Sit back, relax. We're going to have some fun. Also going to play some sounds for you. So I hope you do enjoy. If you do, please do subscribe, click the bell, go to tjontheroad.com. You already know all that stuff. So let's get started. All right. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the oscillating section, as well as the wave envelope section, and we're going to talk about the wave surfer. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I just want to hear the first one, so I'm going to turn that up here, turn these other one down. Okay. Okay, nice sounding oscillating section. Obviously, it's a digital synth. Let's go through all the different parameters. You have pitch, okay, you have fine tune, and then you have your wavetable selection. Now, you'll notice here that you can change the controls here, okay, or you can change them up here in the encoder, so here. So this is really great. You have a different setup. So if you're left or right-handed, you can use it either way, or if you're just playing with your left and right hand. So that's a very nice, easy to use user interface. I really do like that. You have the wavetable section here. All right, you have a number of waves to go through. These first set of waves are the PPG inspired ones. Okay, and there are, I believe, 36 of them. Sorry, 34 of them. It says 33, but remember we had a 00 wave too. Next, you have the user waves. There are ones that are set in from the factory, from their sound designers. All right, so those go from 00 all the way up to all the way up to 47. So there's 48 of them. There's one additional one here. It's the check wave. That's actually one that I made through the Wave Maker tool. I'm going to go through that a little bit later. And you have 16 of those that are available to you. If you didn't create one, they're not going to show yet. So there's only one here for now. All right, and then you have the analog, virtual analog waveforms. You have the sawtooth, the square, triangle, sine. All right, supersaw, very strong sounding supersaw. And then you have noise, white, pink, red, white, blue noise, violet. Okay, and you get to go through those using the wave offset tool, that being going from white to blue to violet, say, for example. Or I'm sorry, you use the pulse width for that. Excuse me. Okay, and this is the Wave Maker table. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. So let's just pick one of these. Anyone, what we got here? Pick one of the original wavetables from the PPG. Okay. Next thing you want to look at is the actual waves. And see here, you have all of the wavetable, present. Now, this isn't the type of screen that you might see, say, for example, in Pigments or in Serum or on the Quantum or Iridium, where you have an actual wavetable. It's just a nicely way to set it up in terms of, going through the waves. It's a much more simpler user interface, but it's still very effective. So if I go through here, through the offset, I'm going to leave it there just for the heck of it. Okay. And you have the ability to actually scroll through the entire wavetable. So that's great. Miscellaneous, you can set it so the wavetable goes through with key tracking. That's just keys to wave. Let's say I turn that up. That means it'll change the actual waveform that it plays as it goes through the key tracking. Turn that back down. You have oscillator sync. Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory. And then you have linear FM. Very, very cool. Okay, the linear FM from oscillator 2 will go into oscillator 1, and from oscillator 3 will go into oscillator 2. And then this button here allows you to scroll through the different oscillators. All right, so if I was to go here, that'll allow you to zoom. Okay, miscellaneous, next oscillator, that's oscillator 3. You'll see that it could be something different. But we're going to go back to 1. And I'm going to turn the level up to just below 100. One of the things with this is that with the levels on all of 3 of the oscillators, if you leave them all adding up to 100, they won't distort. If you go above 100 with the addition of the levels of all 3 of them, they'll start to distort, and that could have, a good or bad effect depending on what you're looking for. Okay, so the next great feature with the oscillators is using the wave envelopes. It's probably the biggest thing that people are going to want to get to. And the way you work that is you want to turn them on first off, okay? And then you want to go to oscillator 1. And here you can see a graph of that. Now notice that here it says editing wave envelope oscillator 1. I can select oscillator 1. I can select so it does oscillator 1, and 2, or I can do them all at once. Or, okay, I can actually just do them individually. If I turn them all off, it's none. Maybe I just want 2, so forth. But I'm just going to work with oscillator 1. Now you'll be able to hear it go through the wavetable with the envelope. Okay, and you have the ability here to change its parameters. Now, each one of the 6 steps, okay, has 2 parameters associated with it. You have the time and the position. Now, you'll see here there's only 6 knobs, right? So really you need 12 knobs to do this. That's where you get the second button here, that the first positions of 1 through 3 are with the button turned off. If you turn it on, you're actually editing the buttons of 4, 5, and 6. I mean, the positions on the envelope, I should say. So let's start with the first one. You have the time and the position. This says the time it'll take to get there. So if I set this really long, it'll take forever to get through there. Let's shorten that up. Or I can set the position rather than being 0. We can raise it up. And then lengthen the time. And you can do the same things with the other points on the envelope. Let's set something crazy here. All right. So you can really hear it moving through the wavetable. Okay, let's go here. Now I've clicked envelope positions 4 through 6. Okay, so now you'll see here it says 4, 5, and then 6. Okay. Okay, so you can really hear it going through the wavetable with the wave envelope. Now you can go here also to the values. All right, you can see this in numeric form for both steps 3, 4, 4 and 5 through 6. All right, and then you have a miscellaneous. You can select the release point, and you can also loop them. Interestingly, it says 0 and 1 for on and off, a binary view of this. And you can set the start point. So say I don't want that at the 1 point. I don't want that here. Maybe I want it at the 3 point. All right. So now, instead of starting at number 1, it's going to start at 3 and only actually loop the remaining portion of the envelope, actually from 3 to 5, since that was the release point that we had set before. Okay, there's the release point. So it's going to loop from 3 to 5. And then you can set the amount. That's maximum. We turn it down and say halfway. That's roughly there. And I'll have a lesser effect. But for the video, we're going to leave it at the maximum, so you can really hear it. All right, so those are the wave envelopes. You can individually set them for all of them, okay, or you can actually set them individually, the same for many of the other ones. So for oscillator 1, 2, and 3. All right, let's go back to the graph here. See here, you can actually copy them to all if you want to. So you don't actually have to set them each individually. All right, now, say for example, you don't want to use the wave envelope. I'm going to quickly look at here that you can turn that off, okay? You may decide that you want to use an LFO, so you can certainly do that by going into the LFO section. I'm going to go back through the LFOs a little bit later, but I just want to quickly show that. And we can set the destination here, okay, as oscillator 1 wave. All right, and then we have to raise the amount. So now we have a simple LFO that is set up to go through the wavetable. All right, another thing here is the wave flow. All right, if I turn this back on again, and we go back to the wave flow, now it's doing smoothing of the wavetable. So it'll interpolate between the different waves. Or if you don't want that, you may want to have it do more of a stepped type of, move through the entire wavetable. So the step will create a little bit more of an artifact type sound. If you turn it on, it should be a little bit smoother. All right, now you have to obviously experiment with that with the different wavetables to see which one has the best type of effect. Okay, so that's the wavetable smoothing. This is the waveform smoothing. And this is the upper wavetable. To explain that, the original PPG, according to the manual, that's what it explains, the original PPG had these upper set of wave forms that you can get to by turning this type of feature on. I think that is actually represented here. Let me see. Right, by these last set of waveforms that are here, a very simple type of, square and sawtooth waves. So I'm pretty sure that that's what that is. Don't quote me on that. There's nothing in the manual about that, though. All right. Next thing that we want to look at, we've looked at the oscillators. We looked at the wave envelopes. Okay. Now we want to look at the wave surfer. Okay, the wave surfer is sort of a global way of going through the wave tables, and it allows you to do it for a more performance-oriented type function. So this actually will change all three of the wave offsets, okay, in a global way, or you can actually select to choose just one or the other. And then if you offset those, and it'll do that, okay? And then you can reset it back to 0 if you want. So let's turn those all offsets all the way down. All right, next thing I want to talk about is, again, the sync and the FM. Okay, I mentioned those a little bit earlier. Okay, so we want to go into the miscellaneous here. We can do linear FM. Okay, let's see. I turned the level on that one up. I want to turn this over here. Sorry, we want to go here to oscillator 1, and then we want to turn it here so we get linear FM from oscillator 2. So now when I change oscillator 2, say for example I change the pitch, you should hear some different type of overtones. And that's true even if I turn the level all the way down. Okay, a lot of craziness going on there with that. Again, let's go back to 1 here. All right, and always remember when you're editing this, you want to make sure you're looking here to see which one you're actually editing. Oscillator 1, oscillator 2. Okay, go back to the miscellaneous. Let's say I turn that back down and I want to sync. So now you have oscillator sync. All right, let's, oops. Oh, okay, that's from the, so again, you're doing one, right? You have miscellaneous, you have the oscillator sync, and that comes from oscillator 2. So that's it with the oscillator section, okay, with the wave envelope, the wave flow, as well as the wave surfer. Next, I want to talk to you about the low frequency oscillators, the LFOs, the modulation section, that being the modulation matrix, and the envelopes, the extra envelopes. And then later on, we're going to talk about the filters as well as the filter envelope and the amp envelope. But I first want to start off with the LFO section. Now, if you remember, I had showed you a quick demonstration of using the LFOs instead of the wave envelope to affect the oscillator. Now, right now, the wave envelope is on, so I'm going to turn that off. Okay. Now I want to assign the destination of LFO 1, okay, to affect oscillator 1. Right, we did this before, but I want to go over that quickly again. All right. We have to turn the amount up. Again, we can do that here, or we can do that here. All right, now let's say I turn this all the way down, okay? And I actually want to have that affected by something else. Let's say, for example, I want to have that come in, when I use the mod wheel. So I can use the modulation section. I can select the source, okay? And I can hold down the source and actually move the mod wheel, and it'll automatically select that in the modulation matrix. And then I can do the same with the destination. I want to hold down the destination, and I'm going to tweak the amount here, and that's the LFO amount. And then I'm going to have to increase that to the amount that will affect when I use the mod wheel. So when I hold this down, okay, so that'll affect how much it moves through the wavetable with the LFO. So that's one thing that you can do. You can assign that, say, to velocity or to the aftertouch. It does have channel aftertouch with the keyboard, and it does respond also to poly aftertouch with an external keyboard if you have something that does that. And this is a way for you to get a chance to mod the mod, say, for example. So that's really cool. Other things, to go through the modulation section, you have, variable slots here. I think, let's see, there's 16 of them. There's 16 of those. And then they have the fixed slots, which basically do the same similar thing to what I mentioned to here through that type of routing, just through the different modulations. All right, so you have all those. So if you wanted to actually set it to in the modulation matrix, you can do it that way, or you can do it with the low frequency oscillator destination. So there's many different ways to skin this cat. That's basically what I'm trying to say. And the nice thing about that, though, is it does mean that you can actually layer different modulations. You can set one destination here and a different destination here. So you have a lot of different sources, going to different destinations. A lot of variables there, a lot of possibilities.
All right, next we're going to talk about the filters as well as the filter envelope and the amp envelope. So with the filters, you have a low-pass analog filter and you have a state variable filter. They are in series. You can't run them in parallel. They are in series. Let's take a look at the low-pass filter and we'll see how it sounds. Before I do that, I want to mention that I do have a little bit of a wave envelope, the stock wave envelope that comes as a default going on, so you can hear that. Now we can compare that sound to the cutoff with the filter. Okay, let's hear a little bit of resonance. That's a little more than half. All right. Okay, it doesn't seem like it self-resonates. But it comes pretty close. All right, let's turn that down a little bit. All right. You got a saturation here. I think that saturation sounds really nice. It's kind of in the middle of the road. All right, you have some miscellaneous controls. You can have it track with velocity as well as the key tracking. Let's turn that up. And you can have the envelope track along with the velocity, and it does have compensation, bass compensation for when you turn the resonance up. That's cool. Let's hear it with the envelope. Okay, go back to here. All right, so I'm going to turn the envelope amount up. Turn the resonance down and the cutoff down a little bit. Let's hear how snappy they are. So I'll turn that off. It's pretty snappy. That sounds nice. Okay, with the envelope, you have the ability to create a delay, and you can change the mode from exponential to this PPG mode. The PPG mode is a little bit more of a linear type mode. It still has an exponential curve, but it's much more closer to a linear. So you can hear the difference there. Quite a difference between the two. All right. Turn that up here. Turn the attack up so you can hear it sweep. All right, that's with the resonance down.
a bit. Let's turn the resonance up to see how it sweeps. Okay, that has quite a bit of sweep there. Let's take it so it goes in the negative. Turn the attack down so you can hear it faster. So it's a nice sounding filter. I do really like it. All right, I'm going to turn this up here. All right, I'm going to go to turn the saturation, trying to get this back to a neutral, and we want to go to the state variable filter. All right, so I've got that all the way off. Okay, we're going to turn the key amount off. Here, getting this back to a neutral spot. Saturation all the way up, down. Okay, and you can set a velocity. I should have mentioned that if I haven't done so before. All right, now let's take a look at the state variable filter, low pass, notch, high pass. It does have a band pass. All right, let's hear that. That's the low pass. Add a little resonance. Now, where the low pass is an analog filter, this is a digital filter. All right, let's hear it in the notch. And you'll see as I change the mode, it changes it here in the screen. Okay, that's the notch, high pass. So you get your crispiness, like your cornflakes for breakfast. Okay, again, you can set the envelope amount, set your velocity, your key tracking, it has resonance compensation as well, and you can set it to a bandpass mode. Okay, you can either do that here or you can do that down here. All right. So you have a couple places that you can do that. Let's hear that. So those are the filters and the filter envelope. The amp envelope is the same type of ADSR type of envelope. All right. It's a very nice long attack. So really great for, soft ambient styles. All right, again, it has the same type of controls that you had with the filter envelope. You can set it to the different shapes, and you can set the envelope amount. so the next section I want to talk about is the effects section. There's two sets of effects. Okay, they're almost exactly the same. The second section of effects, excuse me, has a little bit more effects available. It has basically more reverb that is available. Let's take a look at number 1 here. Okay, now I've made a basic sound, like an organ type sound, just so to give you an idea. Okay, and we'll turn number 1 on, and the first one you get is a delay, a BBD style delay. All right, there's a stereo delay. All right, there's a chorus. Nice sounding chorus. Just going through these quickly. The phaser. Flanger. A distortion. It's a little much for me, but you turn it down here. Again, you can change that here, or you can change that up here. That's really, really great. All right, turn the tone down a little bit. Okay. There's a nice sounding Leslie speaker here. And it's really nice if you set the speed brake here. It doesn't go way fast, way slow, quickly. It actually works like a real Leslie. It actually takes a little bit of time to go from fast to slow. So that's a really nice feature. Really nice feature with the Leslie. I like the Leslie effect. Okay, and then there's ring mod. Kind of nasty sounding, as ring mod it should be. All right, if we turn this all the way down to just 1, it becomes a tremolo effect. So that's fun. All right, and that's all you get on effect 1. All right, I'm going to go this up here, turn down the bypass, or you can just turn it off there. You can go to effect 2. Okay, effect 2 has all the same as effect 1. Does have this extra echoplex effect, I should mention that. So it has a little bit of extra tape type effect, okay? But it also has the room simulation, a hall, and a plate. Super plate. So it has a little bit extra availability on the second one, so that you can run them in series. You know, say you want a nice chorus and then a nice reverb thereafter. That's really great. The effects section sounds really, really awesome. right, next I want to talk about the multi-part section. You can do up to 4 parts with the synth. You can stack them, you can split them, you can run them individually through the sequencer. I don't believe you can access them yet externally. I think that's something that they're working on, but currently you can only access all 4 parts through the sequencer. So you select them. This is a single part, right? Single mode. Say I want to stack them. I can stack them, and I can set their volume amounts. I can set their panning. I can create splits. Okay. I can go back to here. Okay, or I can set them as individual parts. And what I want to do here is I want to select what program from other parts of the synth that are actually the new part. So that's really cool. So you can actually have more than one sound as different parts. Keep in mind, though, that when you add parts, it doubles down the amount of polyphony. So you had 24, with a single part. If you have 2 parts, you're going to go down to 12. 3, it's going to go down to 8. With 4, it's going to go down to 6. So you have to keep that in mind. Here we have, stack, say, for example. You can make a different part. Now you can also go to here, right? Let's say, for example, all right, I have this single part here. That's an initialized part. All right, if I want to go and make a nice sound for that part, I can do that. Then I can actually turn that one off, and I can select number 2, and I can create a whole other part, a whole other sound from scratch if I want to. Now, granted, that's just the initial part, but I can, again, do all through the synth and create a whole new sound and create a nice stack. That's what I've done with a lot of the presets that I've made. So that's basically how the parts section works. Again, you can select that. You can access them through the sequencer. Okay, we're going to go into the sequencer a little bit later. Next, I want to go over quickly the sequencer and the arpeggiator. The sequencer, right here, you can obviously set the tempo. Okay, you can set the swing amount, and you can actually set a quantization amount. So that's really great. Somebody like me who kind of plays a little loosely, that's a good thing. All right, you can also have it record parameters. So that's really, really awesome. Let's just quickly try something here. I'll set it for a couple measures. If you want to set it up to record, all right, just hold down the record, hit play, give you a count off, 4. All right. overdub. A lovely little sequence. Okay, now you can do that with each individual part. That's really, really awesome. You can clear them out, which I'm probably going to do with this sequence. You can mute them. You get up to 24 different patterns that you can save in the synth. All right, you go to the second page here. You can copy it, and it does have a song mode. Hey, everybody wants one of those, right? You got a song mode, so you can set the pattern number and how many times it plays, and then you can actually loop the song. So that's really cool, really fun. That's the basics of the sequencer. All right, moving on to the arpeggiator here. All right. It's pretty basic, okay? You have the different modes. Up, down, up and down. The assign. All right, and the random. All right, pretty basic stuff here. You can set the octaves. Okay, and the note value. Pretty basic stuff with the arpeggiator. It does have the tempo, the mode, and the range. Interestingly, it does have a swing on the sequencer, but there isn't a swing on the arpeggiator. All right, next thing I want to talk about, we haven't mentioned the lower set of buttons here. This is where some cool stuff is. You have the globals. Okay, this is where you can set the brightness of the LED. Right. So, if you don't like your LEDs really bright or you just want them off at all entirely, you can do that. Right? Oh, no, you can get them down to 1. All right. There is a screensaver. Okay. The slowest is on 30 seconds. Okay. We're going to wait 30 seconds. No, I'll just speed up the video to show you what it looks like. There it is, the screensaver with the Groove Synthesis logo. Now, one of the kind of weird things is that it won't go off if you play the keys. At least in the current version, you have to hit the button again for it to go off. I'm going to turn that off. Anyway, you can have the screensaver with the logo, or you can just have a blank screen. All right, so these are all a bunch of the calibrations and stuff like that. I'm not going to bore you with all that kind of stuff. All right, you can set the MIDI channel here. You can have a different MIDI in channel as an out channel. That's great. There's your local control. All right, and so forth. I'm just scrolling over here. You can look at them in the camera, I hope. You can see them. All right, and this is where you can import and export the different programs. All right, so those are your globals. All right, the miscellaneous menu, this is parameter specific. So this is really, really important. You have your output routing, okay? All right, and this is where you can set your output routing for the individual parts. Very good, because the Groove Synthesis third wave here has 4 different stereo pairs of outputs. Really, really great. All right. You can set the envelope type from exponential to the PPG shape as a global parameter for that given preset. Okay. Here, this is an important parameter. This is your circuit drift. Okay. So this is how the pitch and the LFOs and the envelopes will drift along with, as you play. So it gives it a little bit more of a vintage character. This is with 0. Turn the arpeggiator off. Okay, so if I go here and I set the drift way up to the maximum, it's going to get really, really wonky. All right, maximum is 254. it's going to get pretty wonky there. They say in the manual roughly, 30 to 60 is probably about average for most synths. So we're going to dial that back. And in the 40 range. Okay, that's an important parameter if you really want to get some interesting, characteristics out of the synth. It's kind of hidden in the miscellaneous section, so don't forget about it. There is a compressor. It's been on through this entire video. Probably would just keep it on. Let's see what difference does it give. This is with it on. Off. Seems like quite a difference. Okay, you can assign the pitch wheel to all the oscillators or individual ones. You can set it to all kinds of different destinations. This is a really powerful feature, so you can use the pitch wheel not just for pitch. You can set the range up or down, the velocity strength from piano to off to light, and a number of places in between. The pressure curve for the aftertouch. Keep moving the glide rate. Okay, this is the audio into the filters. You can send audio input to the filters. You can set the type of metronome for the sequencer, the volume. So a lot of really, really great stuff. Now keep in mind, this is specific to the individual parts. So as you go through the different parts, you get a whole new set of parameters. All right, there is a Unison. Okay. And you get the detune. And then you want to set the number of voices, right? Probably can't really tell much with this given sound, but I can tell you that Unison with a bass sound is absolutely earth-crushing. It is really amazing. So very, very powerful use of that. Obviously, you can set the key assigned to low, high, or the last. next I want to talk about making your own wavetables with the third wave. There's two ways to do it. You can actually record your own with the input in the back. That's what I'm going to do here today with my guitar. Or you can actually make ones on your computer and you can download them into third wave. But we're going to make one today with my guitar. Okay, here it is. Okay. Now, one of the things with the third wave that they do recommend is that when you make a wavetable, you want to use the note of F sharp below C. That's this note here. A lovely little note. So let's go into the Make Waves here button. And actually, I already made one, so let's play it and see what it sounds like. All right, but for demonstration purposes, I'm going to arm it, and we're going to make it another one. All right, so it will detect, the initial sound as well as the sound when it dies off, and it'll shut off. You'll note that there is a little bit of a audio pop when it starts and stops. So we can hear it now. We can play it. Okay. One thing of note is that the audio in, it doesn't really have a gain stage available. You can't really turn it up, so you got to send this a really, really good signal level. What I'm doing here with my guitar is I'm running it through my Fractal FM3, and then I've cranked it up to come through to the third wave to get a nice signal to noise ratio. But there is some noise in the beginning, and you can actually cut that off by taking the start point and moving that away from the beginning, so you can start it there. Whoops. Here, play. And there's some noise at the end, so we're going to cut that off too. All right. Now we can make the wavetable. So you hit the Make Table. All right, and it does its little thing there. I just want to mention while it's doing that any noise that you're hearing is probably just coming from the guitar from my speakers. It's not coming from the third wave. All right, I'm going to put the guitar down here. And then I can save this. Okay. I can name it anything I want. All right. Just real quick. I'm going to name it my guitar. And once I name this, it'll be available in the wavetable list for each individual oscillator. And you'll note it's saving it to U49. So from 48 up to, I think it was 64 or something like that. Those are the available spaces for new waveforms. You can delete the ones that are brought by the factory, but obviously if you do that, they won't be available for you. So I'm going to hit OK. All right, so it's saving that. All right, now if I go back to the oscillator here, I can select that wavetable. Here we go. And there's my guitar wave. And if I put the wave envelope on, now it's going through that. A lovely little wavetable that I've created. Hi, so I made a really simple wavetable, but you can get really, really creative. One of the cool patches that's on here is they made one where they use their voice. A lot of fun there. Now, keep in mind, this is not a sampler. It does record audio, but it doesn't actually technically sample it. It just goes in and turns it into wavetables. So don't get confused with that. let's I want to talk about the pros and cons of the synth. The first thing I want to say is hats off to Groove Synthesis. This is a monster synth. This is the first synth they ever came out with. I mean, God, way to go. I'm telling you, most companies, when they come out with something as their first try of something, it's like something small, something basic, something to test the marketplace and test their ability to create it and, test all of their, manufacturing and distribution and all that type of stuff. Not Groove Synthesis. No, they came out with a huge, monstrous, awesome synthesizer. Yeah, man, these guys got balls like you can't believe, as far as I'm concerned. And it is really, really great. The construction is really, really awesome. It has a beautiful powder coat. I believe it's first a silver coat and then the blue coat over that. It is a strong metal frame. And you really can't complain. Now, the real thing about any synthesizer, I don't care what it looks like or even almost how it's built, is how the hell does it sound? And this thing is a monster sounding synthesizer. The bass is just worth the whole thing alone. It just sounds incredible. And then, the rest of it kind of has an interesting quality to it that is of its own. It tends to scoop a little bit, just above the bass and the low mids and then starts to rise thereafter. The high end of the synth has a fuzziness to it, but it's never brittle. So it's really, really a nice sounding synthesizer. The virtual analog does sound really, really nice, has a certain character all of its own. Again, the bass I thought was really, really nice. Some of the brass sounds sound really, really nice. That fizzy character really works well with the brass sounds. It's just an incredible synthesizer with a lot of different features, and you can do a lot with it. Really, the only negatives I can see are stuff that they can probably fix or wish list items. Keep in mind, this is the pretty much the first firmware that's come out. If you watch this video a year from now, a lot of the stuff will be fixed. There are some quirks with the MIDI timing for sync. There are some quirks with the arpeggiators. There's some other quirks that I found, and I don't want to dive too deep into that because, again, they'll probably be fixed. They've been very responsive to bug fixes, and I'm sure that they're going to do so in the future. So really, hats off to Groove Synthesis. They really made an awesome piece of gear, and I'm so glad to have it. I want to thank you so much for checking out this video. If you made it this far, you two are awesome, and do hit the subscribe button. Click the bell for some more videos. I'm probably going to put out some more sound type videos on the third wave, and check out tjontheroad.com. Thanks so much for your support, and I will see you next time.